This is super exciting, guys. I don't know if we're gonna set a new record today because the record set by the Audi Q6 e-tron of 6 minutes on this trip and in this test is crazy. If we're lucky, we may be able to beat the SQ6 e-tron, which was the last record holder. Either way, guys, I think the performance of this car today is awesome. I want to ask you guys a small favor that is completely free for you, and that is subscribing to the channel. You may not care about subscribers, and I really don't care about subscribers, but the manufacturers and the brands do. So when I try to get early access to a car, they look at my subscriber count, they look at my view count. View count is very good, but subscribers is a little bit lacking for where I want to be to, be invited to more events. So I want to ask you guys to subscribe to the channel, and if we could get to 50,000 subscribers before the end of October, I want to plan a big trip somewhere in Europe, somewhere around the world with an awesome electric car, and I want you guys to choose where. So again, thank you so much for watching, thank you so much for commenting and liking and also subscribing. Today we're putting the new and awesome Volkswagen ID.7 GTX Tour through our long trip test. This is a test over a route that is more than 600 kilometers or almost 400 miles, where one of the goals of this test is to complete that route with the shortest charging time possible. That's how we rank these cars at the end of the video in the chart. Either way, guys, this car is an awesome car with great efficiency and fast charging speed, and even though it may not set a new record, I think this is still gonna post an impressive time because this is an all-round great electric car.
Check the mirror, see the reflection. Ain't nobody quite like me, see I'm perfection. Unique vibe, can't duplicate. Swag is so cool, every day I celebrate. No copycats, just one original. Couldn't hide out even if I wasn't visible. Pull it in the breeze, brushed it in the air. No comparison, I'm beyond comparing.
I've driven a lot of awesome electric cars this year. I've driven the Polestar 3, the Polestar 4, the Polestar 2, the Tesla Model 3 Highland, the Volvo EX30, the Audi Q6 e-tron, the SQ6 e-tron, the new Peugeot E5008. I've driven so many good and new electric cars this year, but if I were to recommend one, I think this would be the car. I think this is my favorite new electric car this year because this fits most people's use cases the best. And it's not an SUV, so it's not, tall, it's not more inefficient than it has to be. It has a huge cabin, a really nice appointed cabin. The quality in here is impeccable. The quietness of the cabin is one of the best. The ride comfort is great. The trunk is big. The range is good. It looks great and is also priced about the same as a Tesla Model Y long range. So why would you get anything else? I digress. This test isn't about reviewing this car. It's about getting the shortest charging time possible over this route, which is a little more than 600 kilometers or almost 400 miles. But guys, please go out and buy this car if you're in this price range, because if Volkswagen don't sell these, if these are not successful, we may not see a big, luxurious, spacious, comfortable electric wagon from a major manufacturer again. I mean, this is it, guys. So go out and buy this if you're looking at a Model 3 or a Model Y, because this is great. But I digress. So after about an hour, our average consumption is 20.1 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So that means we're going to be able to go to Kristiansand, which is our turnaround point in the south of Norway. And then we're going to be able to start moving back towards our start point back in Oslo. How far will we be able to go? I don't know, but I think we're going to be able to go to Brokelandsheia, which is where we stopped with the Q6 e-tron, which set a new record. This car doesn't have as fast charging as that car, so I don't think we're going to set a new record today. But if we're able to set a sub 10-minute charging time on a almost 400-mile route, I think that's awesome. And another reason you should go out and buy this car. Yeah, I love this thing. This is great.
Check the mirror, see the reflection. Ain't nobody quite like me, see I'm perfection. Unique vibe, can't duplicate. Swag is so cool, every day I celebrate. No copycats, just one original. Couldn't hide out even if I wasn't visible. Pull it in the breeze, brushed it in the air. No comparison.
Okay, we are now in Kristiansand at our halfway point. And the weather's been a little bit on and off. Not the worst day, but not the best day either. We've had showers, we've had wet roads, but for the most part, we've had between like 12 and 15, 16 degrees Celsius and dry conditions. A little bit windy according to the wind map. So on our way down here, it started with like a meter per second headwind, and then it progressed to about 5 meters per second. I haven't seen that much, wind driving on the roads like from the trees, but it's a little bit windy here. But okay, we are here with 33% stated charge, guys, and I'm going to show you. Let's just pop open this here. Let's go to the status, and I'm going to show you guys that our average consumption now is 18.4 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is actually pretty low and pretty impressive. I didn't have, the highest expectations because the weather started, not the best. But what's really interesting, guys, I'm going to show you is that I've navigated now to a charger in Bambla, which is further than the charger we went to with the Q6 and also the SQ6 e-tron, which set the two last records. And according to the car, we have 166 kilometers of range. So I want to try to go further with this car because this car doesn't, have that 270 kilowatt peak charging speed like the Q6 and the SQ6, which means I think it's gonna pay more off in this test to go further, deeper into the charge, because we can't charge as fast as with those cars. With those cars, it really doesn't matter, if we stop a little bit earlier, because the car charges so fast, we're gonna make that up very easily. But when the car charges slower, I think it's more beneficial to try to go deeper into the charge. And also, we gotta let this ambulance go out here. And also, the chargers in Bambla, they do have 300 kilowatt chargers, but not too many of them. So because this car doesn't charge as fast as the Q6, we also aren't as sensitive to, having the availability of a fast charger like we had with that car. So we don't have to, necessarily go to that Ionity charger. We have more options, if that makes sense. So guys, we're gonna push this car down as low as possible. And since we have a tailwind on our way back, I'm pretty sure we're gonna make it. We have a 23 kilometer buffer in the green. So yeah, crossing my fingers. As much as I love the infotainment system in the ID.7, and it is awesome in a lot of ways, and it's also new for the ID.7, completely revised, it's great in a lot of ways, but one of its glaring flaws is the navigation system, which isn't the best. So here, I tried to search for the Ionity charging station in Brokelandsheia, and that's what it's called. If I go into the Ionity app, it's called Ionity Brokelandsheia. That charger is just up the road now. We're not going to go to that, but if we were going to go to that, we would want to navigate to it so the car could precondition via the navigation system, so we get that optimal charging speed for our charging stop. But we're not going there, and luckily this car has a very nice feature. So if you go in here and you go to charge and then you go to optimize, yeah, the car's actually already optimized. So about 10 minutes ago, I went into this menu and it said press this button to optimize the charging speed, and that would take about 15 to 20 minutes for the car to be up to temperature. Now we don't even need to do that. So if we connect to a charger now, the car says we're gonna get 187 kilowatts, and that is a great feature of this car. And Volkswagen have, realized that their navigation system may not be the best. I prefer Google Maps in just about any car, and being able to manually precondition, yeah, that is awesome and a game changer. And it really shows that Volkswagen are actually listening to their customers, and they care about what their customers think. And right up here, this is where the Ionity charging station is in Brokelandsheia, but we're not going there. We're gonna go 33 kilometers further to the Circle K charging station in Bambla. Going 120 kilometers an hour on the motorway. This car is so quiet. I mean, I'm so impressed by this ID.7 GTX Tour. I mean, It's an awesome car. Also, the dampening, the suspension, it's so comfortable. It's not sporty, this car. It's much more towards the comfort side, and this has the adaptive dampers. But it's so impressive how comfortable and quiet this car is. It really feels like a true luxury product. So we're now going to stop and charge, and we are not at Circle K in Bamble. We're actually 13 kilometers down the road at the Esso station in Rugtvedt here, because yeah, we had a little bit extra range, a little bit more efficient than what we initially thought. So we're going to stop here. They have these recharge chargers. These should output 200 kilowatts, which should be plenty enough. And check this out, guys. So we're now here with 2% state to charge, 14 kilometers of range left. And then let's pop into this menu here, or this menu, no, this menu, status. And then let's go into our average consumption for the whole trip. So 95 kilometers an hour is our average speed, 465 kilometers covered, 17.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. But what's maybe even more impressive is since our turnaround point, 15.9 the last 153 kilometers. Yeah, this is looking promising. Okay, we are now connected, and as you can see, the charging port is on the rear passenger side of this ID.7 GTX Tourer. So we are here with 2% stated charge. The car is now up to temperature with the battery pack, so we should get a peak charging speed of close to 200 kilowatts now at 2% stated charge. So this car, as I remember the last time, is a little bit slow to pick up speed. It doesn't jump up immediately to that peak charging speed, but we should get that close to peak even though we're below 10%. Like some cars, for example, I think the Volvo EX30, you know, it doesn't peak before you're close to 10%, so you're getting very slow speeds at below that percentage. Several EVs do that. So while this is ramping up, it's climbing now, I just want to talk about how much charge we have to go to. So I don't think we're going to set any new records today, but I've calculated if we can, you know, be efficient on our way back, if the wind map is correct that we're going to have a slight push in the northward direction. I think going to 35% stated charge is cutting it very short. Going to 37% stated charge, we may arrive with between 0 and 2%, not giving us much of a buffer. So I'm not sure. Do we want to YOLO today, go to 37%, and maybe if we're unlucky we have to stop and charge somewhere, or do I go to 38? Do I go to 40? Well, it really depends on the charging speed we get, right? So if we can keep that flat charging curve up to, I don't know, 40%, we may just, you know, just wait out an extra minute just to have that buffer. But yeah, getting 190 kilowatts, are we gonna hit 200? 200 should be, you know, the peak of this charger. We're hitting 196, 197. Yeah, I don't think that's too bad at all, guys. This is looking promising.
Check the mirror, see the reflection. Ain't nobody quite like me, see I'm perfection. Unique vibe, can't duplicate. Swag is so cool, every day I celebrate. No copycats, just one original. Couldn't hide out even if I wasn't visible. Pull it in the breeze, brush it in the air. No comparison, I'm beyond comparing.
Welcome back, guys, to where we started this long trip test earlier today. So we arrived here with a massive 8% state charge and 44 kilometers of range left according to the car. So if you haven't seen these before, I like to push these cars to the limit, and I try to arrive here with as little charge as possible, you know, below 5%, below 3%, sometimes even at 0% state charge. So we can get, you know, the most out of the car in that quickest charging time possible. And that meant we could have charged, well, to 8% less, but we'll get back to that later. The reason we arrived here with, so much battery is that the car was more efficient than it had been throughout the whole trip, more efficient than I thought it would be. And our average consumption for the whole trip was 17.3 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers with an average speed, according to the car, of 97 kilometers an hour. And I just have to say, That is super impressive because going an average speed of 97 kilometers an hour, that means on the speedometer, you're setting that to about 110 kilometers in the real world with a little bit of traffic here and there. And that is super impressive and very, very low consumption. And when I did my calculations, the last charging stop of the day, or the only charging stop of this trip, I always calculate, a buffer and then an extra buffer, so we always arrive here. We've never, in almost 100 of these tests, run out of electricity. Well, going back here, we've done that before our first charging stop with the Jaguar I-Pace, the only car a few years ago. But, the consumption today was much lower than I thought it was going to be, because I calculated that the last trip, the last section of this trip, only almost motorway run would be 19 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. But the last 150 kilometers with an average speed of 102 kilometers an hour, our average consumption was 16.2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So either way, this car is just super efficient and more efficient than I thought it was going to be. Even with a tailwind, going motorway speeds, like speed limits are 110 and 120 kilometers an hour for almost all of that 147 kilometers. That is just super, super impressive. So I'm just more impressed by this car the more I drive it, because it just performs so well. But you guys are here at the end of the video because you want to know how many minutes we had to stop and charge today. Well, the ID.7 GTX Sport Tourer charged for a total of, drumroll, 11 minutes. And I have a little bit of a disappointed look on my face, because even though 11 minutes is I think it's like top 5, it's like so good. I mean, 11 minutes is one of the best charging times we've ever had over almost 100 of these tests here on the channel the past 4 years. It's great, but it could have been better, because once we hit like 25% stated charge, we were above 200 kilowatts in charging speed, and then suddenly, boom, thermal throttling, and we were down to like 111. And we stayed that low, climbing just a little bit. Once we hit 35%, it jumped up again to almost like 190, and then thermal throttled again. The charter gave us information that the car was reducing or limiting the speed, and that, just sudden limitation and then it starts creeping up is a typical sign of thermal throttling. And also, we were the only car at that point when we throttled at the whole charging station. So I don't think there was any problems with the charging station at all. And even when we're getting, that peak charging speed again at 35%, 36%, 37%, there was another car connected to a different charger at the charging station. So, we had the full capacity of the charging station. It was the car 100% that throttled the speed. And considering that we arrived here with 8% and we didn't have that thermal throttling, we charged to, I think we charged to like 37%. And that means we could have charged to 29%. And if we didn't have that thermal throttling, I'm pretty sure that we could have charged in like 7 or 8 minutes in total for this trip. But that's the results. That's what happened today. So before I leave you guys, I'm just really impressed by this ID.7 GTX Tourer. But I want to know if you guys want me to correct these charging times at the end of the video, because what I can do is that I can time the charging time up until 29%, 30 minutes, and then, subtract that at the end of the video. Maybe that's more accurate and more fair. Let me know what you guys think down below. So either way, super impressive, 11 minutes, even with those issues and the weather we had today at the beginning of the trip. If we had perfect conditions, perfect charging times, I'm pretty sure we could have matched the Q6 e-tron Quattro's charging time today, and that is just impressive. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below, and for more car content, as always, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.